All right, we are live. Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. I am very excited to be here this morning with someone I know and love, a very familiar face to me, and I'm sure many of you as well. Miss Sarah Kempf, who is an area director with Village Green, is our featured member for the weekly member spotlight this week. And before we dive in, I just wanted to say, Sarah is saving my tail today. I have had to pivot this week. We had a spotlight feature scheduled and had to reschedule that unexpectedly. And I reached out to a few people who were on the list, and I know it's a busy time. What a time to be alive. I keep telling myself there's so much going on in the world and in our industry. And so, I have this little list of emergency people. I've always put the word out to the Village Green team and welcome to their involvement. We've done a few over the, past 2 years or so, but I called Sarah and she literally did not blink an eye. She was like, tell me what you need, MJ. And here she is. So thank you very much, Sarah.
You're welcome.
Super appreciative of your being here this morning. Before we dive into your interview, though, there are a couple of really exciting things, 3 exciting things I wanted to share with you on behalf of the GCNKAA. First and foremost, Tuesday, January 19th is our first general membership meeting for 2021. We have NAA board president, Richard Graff, sorry, I'm hoping I'm getting the name right. I didn't write that down. Speaking on behalf of the NAA at our GMM. I'm going to have to apologize for butchering his name, so sorry. Then February 9th, I'm very excited for this annual event. My favorite Mr. Dave Lockard will be hosting the CBRE State of the Industry for the Greater Cincinnati Northern Kentucky market, so you will not want to miss that. And then we are working furiously behind the scenes to plan the Business Exchange event, which is going to be held in March, as you saw this week with the newsletter that went out. We are going to have another virtual event. Super excited. We've got all of the kinks worked out. You're not going to want to miss that. But that's coming up on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. And then, as I'm sure you saw again in the newsletter, all of the events, we're going to start hopefully being able to introduce a couple of live events mid-year and then plan for the in-person trade show August 12th. So be on the lookout for more information about all those events. A lot going on. We're really excited for 2021 to start getting back into the swing of things in the GCNKAA and the world, right?
100%.
Well, without further ado, again, Sarah, I learned a few things about you from your questionnaire. So this is always just a really exciting way to get to know our members. So thank you again. For those folks out there who do not know you, I would invite you just to take a moment, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then how long you've been in the industry.
Sure. So obviously I'm Sarah Kempf. I have been in the industry for 13 years. I started with my career with Village Green as a sales consultant many years ago. Had a brief hiatus where I kind of left Village Green, went to a different management company that was based in Columbus, but I was working in Lexington, and came back in 2016. So I've been back to Village Green now for 5 years. And I'm a area director, and I oversee properties in Northern Kentucky and Cincinnati.
Yeah, and Sarah's overseeing one of our newest projects in Greater Cincinnati. Sarah, I don't know if you want to take a minute and talk about the property that keeps you up at night and excitement.
Sure. Of course, yeah. So we took over the Forum Apartments and Health Club in the Clifton area in April of 2020. So that was a interesting transition in the middle, literally in the middle of the most insane time of our lives in this pandemic. So we didn't really know what to expect, but this property is being completely repositioned, rebranded. We're in the probably first stages of the renovations right now. So we are taking this property that has really a lot of historical elements in Cincinnati and kind of making it new again. And it's been a really fun project, a really challenging project so far. We're going to expect to rebrand this spring potentially with the unveiling of our new pool and community room. It's going to be something to see. So I definitely want anyone watching this to check it out. Come May, June, it's going to look completely different. It's going to be really amazing.
We didn't plan to talk about the forum, but it came up, and Sarah and I both have to leave this interview and go straight into a meeting about the forum today.
Yes.
It's in the forefront of my mind. But you mentioned the historic element, and I think it's really cool because people that I've talked to especially in the age range of like, 50 to 60, you
Mm-hmm.
party at this club.
Everybody.
What do you know about this club that used to exist there?
I don't know a ton about it. I'm actually racking my brain for it was called the Cave. It was part of the extended area of the club building. So it's connected in a way, actually underground in a tunnel. How cool is that? What property has tunnels anymore? But it was an old nightclub. It had like a pool table, a fireplace, and it's completely our construction room now, where all of our appliances and everything are being stored. But Almian, the owner, is actually planning on redoing that room as an amenity space and calling it the Cave. So it's going to remain historical, which is, I think, super special. So that's probably one of the last pieces of this project, considering it is our storage for construction. So as soon as that's wrapping up, they're going to start doing that. But it's a nightclub. It's just going to be a lounge for the residents. But I think the historical piece is pretty neat. And we actually have the original placard because nobody ever threw anything away at this property. So we found this placard that used to be on the wall that says "This way to the Cave." And I think we're going to hopefully get that implemented somehow.
So cool. Yeah, it's funny because we've heard of stories of like very notorious people visiting and frequenting this place, like sports.
Yes. In the 60s, it was the place to be. I've heard stories of Pete Rose living there and being a big contributor at the Cave. I've heard stories of Frank Sinatra, which I don't know if those are true or not, but I've heard all kinds of stories about this place. So it's going to be something fun when it's all done.
Well, that's really cool. Well, speaking of stories, and as a little segue, you have one of the best stories, in my opinion, and I'm obviously biased because I know both parties in the story, but I love the story of how you got into the property management industry. Would you share that with us?
Sure. Yeah. So I was 23 maybe. And my husband was working down in Bracken County, which is completely unfamiliar territory to me. And we were living in Florence. So it was quite a long drive for him. So we started apartment shopping in the Alexandria area, which is close to Bracken County, or the closest civilization, I feel like, to Bracken County. And I ended up seeing this beautiful property off of the AA highway called Brookstone Crossing, and it was brand spanking new. I don't even think it was finished. There was just one building finished, and I walked in with my mom actually, and Kelly Turner was the property manager at this site, and she toured me. And Kelly is now our assistant vice president with Village Green. So way back, obviously. And she, after the tour, she's like, you are just the cutest thing. You should work for Village Green. And I was not exaggerating, 9 months pregnant when we were there. I remember moving into Brookstone on October 10th, and my daughter was born October 30th. So I was very, very pregnant at the time. And I was like, well, I can't really start for like 3 months probably. I don't know if that's going to work. And they ended up having a position available at Hampton Farms Apartments. And they waited for me to come. I was working at Clinique at the Crestwood Hills Town Center at the time doing makeup. And I thought, what the heck? I hadn't finished college. I didn't really know where I was going to be in life, really. It was kind of a transitional period. And I ended up coming on with Village Green. And I thought I was just going to be like, a year or two until I finished college. And I was going to college for journalism. I thought I was going to write for Cincinnati Magazine. I had all these dreams, and the industry just kind of sucked me in, really. I wouldn't have it any other way, really. I've worked my entire adult career in property management, and I've learned so much. And I just thank Kelly. So thanks, Kelly, for recruiting me all those years ago. And I'm now the area director.
I know. Look at how far you've come. And that itself is just something to be so incredibly proud of. And I think it's just really a fabulous example of what this industry does, which is take people who are passionate about people and who are interested in people, helping people, and gives them this like career path that is, there's no limit to what you're going to do, Sarah. Like it's been such a privilege of mine to watch you elevate. And I remember meeting you at the Vineyard, I think the first time you were a property manager. by
Yep.
that point. But I just love that story. And I think too that Kelly had the courage to speak up because she saw something in you that was very special. Gives me all the, all the feels. And it's a great story. And, no one really plans to get in this industry. Like it's all accidental anyway. And so I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Having lived all of your adult life really in this industry, I know we've shared some really interesting stories. What are the more interesting stories or takeaways from being in the apartment industry that you would share?
Wow. So I could probably talk about 1,000 or a million crazy, good, bad, all of the above stories, property management, because it's definitely a never to sit down type of industry. There's always something going on, but I don't have like a specific story that like sticks out of my most memorable moment or crazy story, even though I do have some. But segue in our last conversation that I think is the most memorable for me is just the growth that I have seen in myself, in others, in my teams over the last 13 years has just been astronomical. I have worked for some really great people and not so great people too. And every single person that I've met along the way has taught me something so valuable in every position that I've ever worked in, that it just is like all feel good. I've worked for, Village Green, which is, the best company I could ever imagine working for. And I worked for Lifestyle Communities, which was also a really great company. So having the ability to have like nurturing people over my career that have like got me to where I am today is so memorable and important for me just to reflect upon.
I love that. And we talked in preparation for this about like what a small world it is and how
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
so excited to interview you because I'm like, I know you basically spent your entire career with Village Green, minus that small hiatus, but you know so many people and so many people know you just through your growth and your
Yeah.
experience. And you didn't stay put in one position with one title at one property. You're like, all over
Ever changing. Yep.
exactly. So that's been, I think, a very important springboard into your growth. And I'm so excited to see what's next on the horizon for you. And we've already said this forum project, I think, is going to, it's already been a defining moment for you in your career. But I think seeing that entire project come to fruition and, when you're standing there at the grand opening event, looking back, like, I will bring the tissues. It's going to be
Oh, all the tears.
I know, right?
It will totally happen.
Well, since you're a young pro, but you're basically a pro in this industry already, what advice would you offer up to people who are maybe just getting started or thinking about getting into this industry?
Yeah. And what I literally just said, it's the ever changing. Um, Personally, professionally, um, the one thing that I would say, and I've seen a lot of people struggle with, is the change in the industry. And I think that's one thing that I've flourished in because I'm a roll with the punches kind of gal. And especially with this year, with COVID and the unexpectedness of 2020, I guess not this year, but last year, the unexpected insanity of 2020. Like if you weren't able to just slightly lift your feet off the ground and not be rooted in your ways, like you probably didn't do well in 2020. So my advice would be just to always be willing and able to make a change. Don't sit still. Don't stay at a property. Don't stay at a position if you absolutely can, because it's not going to serve anybody well. If you've been at a property for more than a couple of years, like start, talking to your area director or vice president and say like, hey, what are my next steps? What do I need to do to go to the next step, and ask those questions. And I'm constantly doing that. Like, I think I talked to Kelly, like when the first day I got promoted to area director, I'm like, how do I become a senior area director? And she's like, your role, Sarah, like you just got promoted. And I just think that like ever changing mentality of not being scared to do more and to learn more is the best piece of advice I can give anybody.
I love that. Embracing the change. I remember the first change in my career and it wasn't a planned change necessarily. And I was like, I've stayed at this property my whole life. I had no idea what opportunities and what was out there. So that is really good advice. And it's funny that you brought up the comparison of 2020 to like this industry, because if this industry has taught us anything, it's that we have no idea what tomorrow is going to bring.
Yep.
What the next hour, what the next phone call or email is going to put in front of you. And we joke around a lot that we're firefighters, proverbially putting out fires all day long. And when you manage the lives of hundreds or thousands of people in our case, with the portfolio our size, of course there are going to be changes and issues and things that come up. And it's what makes this industry so amazing, and it's what makes the experience so rich. And I think ultimately just the career itself so rewarding, because you get to see things play out. And when you survive years like 2020, right? You're like, okay, not that I'm inviting anything, if I can survive that, like what can I,
100%.
Right? So well, thank you. I love all of that. And I'd like to shift gears a little bit and get to some of the personal questions, if that's okay.
Oh, sure.
We'll start off. Tell us about your beautiful family.
Oh, so I have been married for 6 years to my husband, Paul. And anybody that knows me knows that Paul is literally my best friend. It's borderline like gross and weird, just because like we are, I've never met anybody in my life that like is my soulmate. And I know you and I have had conversations about soulmates and like that whole thing, but it's scary. How much like I couldn't imagine like traveling without Paul by my side. Like it's like I was thinking about like doing a girls trip, and then I'm like, oh, then I wouldn't. It's like a weird. Most people I don't think know that feeling unless they found like that true soulmate in their life. So my husband is literally my best friend, and then I have 3 kids. I have Zach. Is a freshman at the University of Louisville right now, and due to COVID, he is home right now. I just text him. I'm like, "Don't you dare come downstairs. I'm on Facebook Live." And then I have my daughter Chloe, who just turned 12, and then my son Everett is 5 today. Happy birthday!
Today Everett's birthday? Oh,
yes!
Birthday!
I know.
That.
Yes,
it's being here on Everett's birthday. He should.
Of course. Yeah, he's at daycare. Yeah, it's fine. But he got to bring cupcakes and stuff to school this morning, so he's super excited. But yeah, his 5th birthday is today, and really, I mean, my entire life evolves around my family. I mean, we do everything together. I'm getting ready to like travel all over Greater Cincinnati starting next month. Chloe made the Club Apex volleyball team, and it's like her entire passion in life. So we get to go to tournaments like every single weekend for the next 4 months, which is super exciting. And she's really good, and it's her entire passion. So I like to support that. So that's what I'll be doing for the next 4 months.
It's cool. That. And I listen, your story about how you met Paul and just like what he means to you. Talk about goals, girl. Like
yes, it's goals.
I mean, it's obvious that you are goo goo gaga in love with your husband. Every time you talk about him, it's just radiating that smile right there.
I know.
Met, and gosh, the longevity. 6 years in this day and age is 60 years in this culture and life. And so I know Paul knows what a lucky man he is, but all the legitimacy I've ever seen in relationship and all the goals. So I love that. What do you guys do in your spare time besides getting ready to follow Chloe to
well, it depends on what season we're in all reality. Right now we're couch potatoes, but we put a pool in our backyard last spring. So we have a COVID pool. We didn't plan on it being a COVID pool because that wasn't when it started going in, but it was really our little paradise in the spring and summer of last year because we couldn't go anywhere or do anything. We have this glorious pool. So we are definitely pool people. And we, during 24/7, that's where you'll find us. But most of the time, like otherwise, we're just kind of homebodies. We don't really do a ton of stuff, which is
you're kind of underselling your pool. It's the most ridiculous pool I've ever seen in my life. Like it's gorgeous. Holy cow. I would be figuring out how to build something over that pool so I could see it's cool because it's not just a pool. That's pretty interesting. And very, I think, fortunate that you had it in light of COVID and you had some paradise, like to use your words, to look forward to in the middle of all of this days.
Yes.
And what's also, not to be, making fun or anything, but you're like the most fair-skinned person ever. So
100%.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's funny that like you have to lather up in sunscreen and wear all the hats to even enjoy your paradise, but well worth it, I'm sure.
It was the first year in my entire life that I got a tan, and I was so of that tan. Everywhere I went, I'd be like, "Look at my skin." But yes, I do sunscreen, and all of my children are extremely fair-skinned as well. So there's like 20 bottles of sunscreen by my pool right now.
That's funny. Well, whatever you got to do to enjoy the sun and that beautiful pool. Well, what about pets at home? Tell us about your pets.
So I have a one dog. She is 13 years old. I call her grandma. She is, her name's Caribou. And we have two cats. We have Dietrich and Yelly, and they are indoor-outdoor cats. We actually got them from one of the people you interviewed, I think last year, the year before, Heather Welge, with Green. So Heather had these cats that showed up at her back door. She lives in Covington, and she has an elderly cat that was flipping out because there were other cats around. And she's like, I love these cats, but I can't keep them. I don't know what to do with them. And I was actually speaking to Roger Hatch about the cats. And I don't know if many people know Roger or not, but he actually tragically passed away in 2019. Shortly after, actually, I got the cats, and he was on the farm and had all kinds of animals. And I was like, I only want one cat. He's like, Sarah, you have to take both. I was like, I can't have two cats. Like, I'm not a pet person, like whatever. And he finally convinced me to take both of these cats. And they're literally, I couldn't imagine them not being together. I am so glad he instilled that wisdom upon me that they have a friend. They are best friends. They chase each other all over the place. They hunt together. They do all kinds of things and leave it outside my house. But yeah, they're like the loves of our lives. We are totally cat people.
Oh, I love that. How did you name all of your pets, Caribou and the cat?
So Caribou I inherited when I married Paul, but Caribou I think is like some type of deer or elk or something. Coloring is like that. And I think Zach, when he was very small, named her. And then Dietrich and Yelly are named after baseball players. The Cincinnati Reds, I'm a huge, like, ridiculous Reds fan, and Derek Dietrich was like my man. Like, he's no longer with us, super sad, but so I named one Derek Dietrich, and my husband, who's from Wisconsin, is a huge Milwaukee Brewers fan, so and the other one Christian Yelich.
That's funny. I'm glad I didn't embarrass myself and assume that, but I was like, I for sure knew the Dietrich name, and I thought I knew Yelly, but that's funny.
Yeah, well, Yelly's a girl, so it's just short for Yelich. We don't know. Random.
Well, I was going to ask you about sports too. So I know you're a huge Reds fan, and just any Cincinnati sports, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was born and raised in Northern Kentucky and grew up with sports my whole life. And it's weird because when I was growing up, like, my family wasn't like a sports family. Like, my mom and dad like never were really into sports, and neither were my siblings. So I don't know how I like inherited this like, weird like, loving gene. I can't play a sport to save my life, but I love to watch them. And I'm a huge Bengals and huge Reds fan. It's been a really rough 20 years. Sports, I feel like I can't even talk about it, or it's going to curse it worse, but yes, love it. And my husband, who is like I said, originally from Wisconsin, would be very upset if I did not say I was a Green Bay Packer fan. So I am a via marriage Green Bay Packer fan.
There you go. Well, it seems like Chloe has found her sports passion. Do you have any indication yet of what Everett's going to get into?
Everett's really into I think it's maybe just a kid thing, but he's really into monster trucks and like giant construction equipment.
Yeah.
Like, if we see like a big digger thing on the side of the road, he like flips out to see it and wants to take a picture with it. So I don't know like what his passion's going to be, but the older he gets, the funnier that kid gets. So a comedian, I don't know, but
oh, that's cute. Well, it's funny. And he was way into all the construction trucks and monster trucks and whatnot. And his first word, aside from like mama and dada, was truck. And I haven't, it was the cutest thing ever. Yeah, I love watching your little Everett. He's so darn cute.
Yeah.
You said Zach is at U of L. What's he studying?
He is in speed school, the engineering school for like computer programming thing. He is one of the smartest kids that I know. He's 32 on his ACT. He just makes me so proud. Like you're so bad at math, and I'm like, it's because you're so good at math. Like,
yeah, right.
Really bad in comparison, but I am really bad at math too. But so he is a freshman right now. He's kind of going through that transitional period too, where he's like, I don't know if this is what my major wrote. I don't know if I want to keep doing it. He definitely wants to be in like the IT, like computer field, but he's still kind of getting his feet wet there. So we shall see what he ends up doing. But smart.
Good. Well, you mentioned being a couch potato in this current season, so I'm excited to hear what's one of your favorite TV shows that you're watching or have watched recently.
So what I just watched, I binge watched it in less than 24 hours, was Bridgerton on Netflix. When I was off on PTO over the holiday break, I don't typically watch a lot of TV just because I'm always running around with the kids and stuff, but I had days where I wasn't doing that, and that show's awesome. If you have not watched it, I highly recommend it. It sucked me in pretty quick. And I think a lot of people talk about Bridgerton. I don't know if you've watched it, but
no, I'm going to though after your review for sure.
It's so good. It's definitely different. It has like new age elements, and elements from like the 1800s, and it kind of just brings it all together. And it's like Gossip Girl, and it's really fun. The show that I love the most, which I don't know when the next season's coming out, is The Handmaid's Tale. I read that book actually, and then watched the show. One of the best shows I've ever seen. It's terrifying, but it's one of those I absolutely can't look away shows. But the new season hasn't come out yet. I guess maybe they stopped filming because of COVID or something, but I can't wait for that one to come back out on Hulu.
Yeah, that's another one because I love Elizabeth Moss.
Oh yeah, she's so good. She's ridiculous in that show. But then the hubby and I are watching like Schitt's Creek, but he won't binge watch anything. It's really difficult to get us in the same room at the same time for more than like an hour or so. But Schitt's Creek is one of the best shows. It's hilarious. I could probably watch it like once I finish it, I'm probably gonna watch it again.
So I just been Shameless over the last few months, and I'm caught up. And now they've released season 11, but I'm ready to start Schitt's Creek. That's like
you're gonna love it. So
excited. Fun. That's the level of like goodness I need in my life. And the Bridgerton, how do you say it? Bridgerton. Yes, like I've seen all the reviews on that and the comparisons of what it's like and the cast and all the good things. So I'm going to definitely that is on my short list. Well, you brought up the book Handmaid's Tale, and we skipped over one of my favorite questions, and I love your answer to this. What's one of the best books you've read of late?
Oh, yay! I was hoping you would ask this. So you actually recommended for me to read Where the Crawdads Sing, which that book changed my life. That's really sad that that's the last book I read, because I think I read that in 2019. So I used to read books all the time. I was, I love writing. That's really what my passion is. And Where the Crawdads Sing made me want to write again. It reminded me of my style of writing, how I used to write stories and poetry and stuff when I was in college. It was so beautiful, and I made my mom read it, and she loved it. So, and I know there's a movie coming out. I think we should have a party. I'm saying that early because of COVID, but like it's going to be awesome. I cannot wait.
I don't remember who recommended it to me to read. I feel like it was probably one of my interviews, but it changed my life too. It reignited my passion for reading, and I had a book in my hand or on my Audible literally every second since I read that book. But it was just beautiful. I remember talking to you about it because I knew you were a reader. I was like, it's beautiful. Like I don't even know what else to say about that.
It's so beautifully written.
Okay, I've got two other books that I was going to share with you.
Ooh.
Girls, which I finished over the summer, and The Huntress, who April Bandlow recommended that I read.
Okay.
I picked that up, and they're both like historical period books. So they're both the 40s and 50s. and about, badass women. And so it's just incredible. Like I absolutely have loved both of them. I'm about halfway through The Huntress right now. I just told Diane about it too, because she's a reader. Um, so yes,
Ooh, I'll have to read that.
keep you abreast of all the good books.
Yes.
Same for me. Well, so we talked, I think, a little bit. We didn't talk about music yet, but I was going to ask you about the concert. Like, what's one of the best concerts that you've been to? I know you love concerts.
So I love concerts and I miss them so dearly. Right now, it is so depressing. I love all music. Truly, I know a lot of people say that, but I feel like I can honestly say that I love every type of music that exists in some capacity. Probably my favorite genre is probably country, which is like, most people are like, I hate country, but I like how it tells a story. And I am a huge Kenny Chesney fan. It's really a part of mine and my husband's story. And I think that makes it even more special for me. But the best concert that I've ever been to, and I've been to, I think, 3 Kenny Chesney concerts now, is just any Kenny Chesney concert. There is something about the way that he creates a space that people can be in and forget about literally everything. And I think music does that for a lot of people. But I literally forget where I'm at, like what's happening in the world. He just has like the best performances. And we were actually supposed to see him in Nashville in June of 2020. And of course that got canceled. And it was the first time in my entire life I ever splurged on concert tickets and got like really awesome seats.
Yeah.
It was a huge disappointment for us that we had to skip that concert in general. But he's supposed to be playing in Nashville this coming May, which I'm like, that's like borderline, probably not going to happen. So we haven't bought tickets yet because we're afraid that, we're going to buy tickets again. It's going to get
right.
But phenomenal show. It's like, he's like the new Jimmy Buffett. He is. It's so fun.
What's your favorite Kenny song?
So I walked down the aisle to the instrumental of You and Tequila Make Me Crazy, which is not a love song necessarily. It's kind of it's a beautiful song, but it's like a broken heart and that type of thing. But the acoustic like instrumental of that song is so beautiful that I had to walk down the aisle to it. So we hired like a guitar player at our wedding and I walked down the aisle to it. It's like, oh, it's so good. But Grace Potter is like duets that song with him. And when the first Kenny Chesney concert I ever went to with Paul, she just like randomly came out on stage and was there, sang it with him. And it was like a miracle. So it's far my favorite.
Incredible.
Yes.
Her voice is incredible.
She's the best.
That song and oh gosh. I forget the other Kenny Chesney song. I won tickets on the radio back probably like 10, 12 years ago to see Kenny Chesney, Tim McGraw together at Riverbend. And it was, I had no expectations whatsoever, but Kenny Chesney totally stole the entire concert.
Was it must not have been the same one because the one I went to was at Paul Brown Stadium and Tim McGraw too. So
no, this one was Riverbend and they blew up beach balls and started like,
yes.
I was like, what is going on?
It's the best.
Yeah. And I went to on B105 or something. It was pretty cool.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, I'm a concert person too. And it's been concert and just theater in general. And not having those live experiences has been among the most difficult times.
Horrible.
Of the pandemic for me. What about vacation? I know you like to travel and you mentioned that doing that with your husband is one of your favorite things. What's vacations you've taken? So we went to a couple, kind of beachy places and I do, love, going to the beach and we go to Hilton Head with my parents a lot. But some of the best times that we've ever had is going to Nashville. Nashville is like just my jam. Like I could go there every weekend of my life, see live music. The talent that exists in Nashville is so insane. Like you are going basically to a Kenny Chesney concert in a small little dive bar and there's like 12 people there and it's like amazing. I've never seen bad live music in Nashville, no matter where I've been. So we definitely love going to Nashville. But the biggest thing, like bucket list kind of stuff for me is I always feel like vacations are so rushed. You have a week, you travel 2 of the days, you're there, you have to do all the things.
But I love traveling so much that I really want to take trips that like I take my time on. Like in the future, I really want to take like 2 to 3 weeks to drive out west, 2 to 3 weeks to drive up the Northeast coast and like do all the things and take my time and enjoy it in a car, staying in like crappy hotels or whatever. And just like the moment, that's definitely, and I want to do that with Paul, obviously. So we shall see if that ever comes to light, because taking a couple weeks off work at a time is always challenging. But
we'll figure that little detail out. I think that sounds amazing. And I've always wanted to do the driving out west thing. Probably the Brady's did it when I watched the Brady Bunch, run as a kid. I was like that, and I'm not super outdoorsy, but I think that sounds incredible. And the not having a destination.
Yes.
So just like stopping at what hotel that you happen to see the next exit when you're exhausted. Like, I love that concept.
Yes.
All right. Well, we're going to wind it down. I have just a couple more questions and then I'll let you get ready. I know, like I said, we both have a meeting in 15 minutes.
Oh gosh, we do.
I know, right? 3 more questions and then we'll get to the rest of the day, Sarah. But if you could be any animal, what would you be and why?
So going back to the question about pets and then me saying I'm a cat person, I would want to be a cat for sure, because like I said, I'm a little bit lazy. Like I like to lay around and kind of do my own thing, and cats can just do that. And no one judges them. They can lay around all day and just get fat and eat whatever they want, and nobody people love them more for it. They're like, oh, look at my fat, chubby, lazy cat. It's so cute. So that would be hands down the animal I would be.
Well, I think all of the brain power that you use for your creativity and your passion for writing and just all the things that you're like I don't know if I would describe you as an empath necessarily, but you're a feelings person for sure. It's funny because I see things all the time that it makes me think of you, and I'm like, I got to share this with Sarah because but I like that question, and I don't know. I was trying to think back. I don't think anyone's ever said they would be a cat before in all the time that I've been doing this. So I like that answer very much.
I mean, laying in the sun, no agenda. It sounds like a good day to me.
So next question is, share a random fun fact that people would not otherwise know about you if we didn't just ask you to share a random fact about yourself.
Oh, I had to think long and hard about this one when you sent me that questionnaire, and it's like weird, but I definitely have some psychic abilities. People probably think that I am insane, but all of the women in my family have a little touch of this, and I can't explain it. My mother has it, my cousins have it. We kind of know things as like a sixth sense that other people may not know, or it's like almost like a feeling. And it's funny, you just said I was like a feeling person. I can like read the energy in the room or the energy on something just by like feeling it. I can like look at my phone and out of nowhere, I'll be like working on my laptop, doing nothing. And I will look at my phone and be like, my mom is going to call me. And like 2 seconds later, that phone will ring. Like there was a time that, I will have like my radio off in my car and I'll just be in silence and I'll be like, ooh, that song's on the radio. And I will turn on the radio and that song will be playing. And it's creepy and it's weird and I can't explain it. But I do it all the time. And I can't call upon it. I can't force myself to know something like lottery numbers. That would be awesome.
Right.
I can't force it. It just occurs naturally. And it's kind of cool because I don't know if it's like an inherited thing, but a lot of women in my family have that ability. It's really weird.
That is interesting. Very interesting. Do you have any sense of that yet? Has she?
So I don't know. She and I have never really talked about it, but there are times when Chloe and I will be like in a car and like a song will come on and we'll be like sitting there, like not singing it. And then we'll start the chorus at the exact, like we'll start singing it at the exact same time. And I think Chloe and I have a little bit of that together where I can read her mind a little bit. I can read Paul's mind pretty easily. He'll tell you that. But Chloe and I definitely have a little bit of that connection for sure.
Nice. That is super random, super cool. So last question, Sarah, and this is probably my favorite, especially when I know people as well as I know you, but how do you think people who have worked with you throughout your career would describe you as a professional?
So I would say that most people would definitely say that I'm kind and that I'm probably one of the most positive people that they've ever met in their life. Like, an actual fire could be occurring, which, knock on wood, that is not a thing anymore. But like, I will come there and I will be like, okay, guys, like, what are we gonna do about this? Let's do this. Like, and I'll have a smile on my face, and people are like, are you okay? And I'm like, we are gonna get through this. Like, I feel like I just have like this ability to see the silver lining in things. And even if like a really bad situation's happening, or, you know, something's not so great, I can turn it around and spin a positive note on it, and try and motivate other people to see that as well, and recognize that it's not the end of the world, and we're going to get through this, and motivate them. So at least I think so.
If I may just end the interview by saying, if someone were to ask me about you, so the word we probably at the Village Green, you know, in the Village Green world, overuse the word authentic.
Right.
I think about you, I think about the word authentic, because you are the most genuine person ever. Like, I don't ever remember a time where you're trying to put on airs. You're like straight up on the rocks. Here's how it is.
Right.
About it in the spirit of being positive or whatnot, but it's you're never trying to be Pollyanna about something. It's like, here's exactly what's going on. And I've told you this from probably the very first time we ever sat down, like, you know, one-on-one. I love that you speak with such conviction and authority and confidence. And your vocabulary is like pretty amazing. Every now and then Sarah will use this word and I'll be like, ooh, I'm adding that word to my little repertoire.
That is so funny. My husband literally calls me a wordsmith all the time.
I love it.
You, like, what is the word you're even using? I don't know what that means, but that goes back to like my journalism degree, my writing days. So yeah, thank you so much. That's super sweet of you.
Well, I'm just speaking the truth, my friend. Well, listen, thank you again for saving the day. I, again, had no idea it was Everett's birthday, and I know that you had a busy morning with preparing for the meeting we're about to be on. So thank you so much for saving the day. This is fabulous. I'm going to share it with everyone, and all of your friends in the GCNKAA who don't get to see you every day will definitely learn a few things about you from this interview. So thank you for your time, Sarah. What are you doing to celebrate Everett's birthday?
We're not doing anything super crazy. I just have a couple of my nieces and nephews, and I'm going to take them to Chuck E. Cheese tomorrow. Like, never been so excited in his entire life. So, yeah, I used to work at Chuck E. Cheese, so this is going to be like going back in the day. I'm going to get up on stage with the dancers and do the birthday dance or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, we're just going to Chuck E. Cheese tomorrow, and you know, just for a little birthday party. But we're just going to have little cupcakes and stuff for him tonight. So he's so excited to turn 5. I had that type of excitement about anything in life.
That's a big deal, turning 5. That's like a game changer. That's like a bracket. That takes you up a bracket.
Yes.
Enjoy the weekend with your fam, and thank you. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll see you next week for another edition. It's actually another Village Green person on the schedule for next week. It's been this person for a long time. So looking forward, hopefully we can, you know, get through next week uninterrupted again. Everyone enjoy your weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Melissa.
Thanks, Sarah. Bye, everyone.